Chapter 729. Increasing it by 3 times would make it 3,000 points. Frankly speaking, Luonan didn't have any special intuition when he heard the number that jumped out of the horned demon's mouth. This was because he had yet to establish a direct perception of the purchasing power of honor points. Octopus slammed the table at this time. Horned demon, what the hell are you doing? Is the ability user society going to collapse? Are the points useless? Are you King dreaming? Oh my, now that you're following a new boss, even a soft octopus can explode with thorns. The horned demon mocked mercilessly. He turned to Luonan and made a zipping motion with his mouth. Shut him up or else we can multiply the number. Luonan stared at the image of the horned demon. Common sense finally struggled out from the depths of his restless heart and arranged into a series of normal logic. The price of labor in the ability user society was relatively stable. 1 to 2 points could be used to hire high-level professional support personnel to carry out non-combat missions. 3 to 4 points was basically the highest reward assigned for a group combat mission. 5 points and above could be considered a high reward. 10 points was a sky-high price. Usually it was the price paid by extraordinaries or the use of high-level public resources. If it was a bit more mundane, 1 point could be exchanged for 1 million according to the market price of credit points. However, this was a publicly recognized price that was lagging behind. Practically no ability user would do such a stupid thing. Luonan opened the credit system due to the negative value of his points during the 2000th miss incident. His credit limit at the time was 1,000 points. In theory, that was an overdraft of his strength and potential at the time. It was the highest evaluation. In this sense, Octopus had a basis for saying that the horned demon wouldn't be worth 1,000 points even if he sold himself. Of course, Luonan's credit limit was 1,800 points. He was basically at the highest level below extraordinaries. His savings reached 700 points. This was accumulated over the past 4 months through the usage fees for the SVIP model of the Psychic Wave Network, the design fees for the Blood Intent Ring Fortress Login Bracelet and several lectures. Luonan was definitely at the level of a rich person in the inner world. However, if he let the horned demon take 3 or 2 times, he would be emptied of his assets if he were to complete the transaction. Then he would have to sell his blood. In other words, a certain amount of stimulation was needed when a person was anxious. Luonan had no concept of money, but he could tell if others were treating him as a fool. The corners of his mouth twitched. The same thing has a different value in everyone's heart. Therefore, a transaction is a voluntary transaction. However, if one party isn't sincere, then there's no way to talk about a voluntary transaction. The centaur immediately applauded. Look, Boss Luo is quite good at speaking. To be able to say doubtful words so beautifully. It's good. Young people shouldn't do things based on subjective feelings. Luonan directly retorted back. If it wasn't for my subjective feelings, why would I rush over for half an hour to negotiate with you over an old-fashioned notebook that may have already been photocopied by you several dozen times? Aside from its value as a memento, it doesn't have any other meaning. The horned demon revealed an exaggerated smile, but Luonan didn't wait for him to follow up. He stared at him and said, "We are all on the mental side. We are all psychics. If we throw away our subjective impressions and intuition, what is left?" These words finally warped the horned demon's smiling face. His long and narrow eyes widened a bit as he stared at Luonan. "It looks like we need to revise our impressions of each other. And also our bargaining chips." Luonan pursed his lips and watched the performance of the horned demon with cold eyes. It was just as he had said to the horned demon. A psychic basically relied on their subjective intuition when looking at people. Impressions were very important, and the horned demon's performance from the beginning until now made it very hard for Luonan to face him with the attitude of an equal trader. The horned demon really didn't walk this path. He widened his smile once more and a strange voice came out from his throat. "Huohua, I really don't like the look in your eyes right now. The reason why I'm still able to maintain my communication with you is because my thirst for honor points is even stronger. Also, you need to maintain your respect for your seniors, kid. Otherwise, you will very likely regret your impulsive attitude." "I'll pay attention." Luonan responded indifferently. "Kiske, it looks like you guys have some misunderstandings about me being low-key before. Okay, after all, I've cautiously suppressed some of the details of the goods since I haven't seen the owner before. But now is the time to change your opinions." Dang 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 dang. A new picture replaced the horned demon's face in the projection area along with the background music. The most eye-catching position in the picture was still the old-fashioned notebook that Luo Nan had seen before. But compared to the monotonous background of the earlier picture, this picture was really messy. But it was this messy mess that attracted all of Luo Nan's attention. This was because he saw the notebook, a large number of old-fashioned notebook pages. They were piled together in a messy manner. There were already ruined wooden shelves and debris of earth and stone on top of them. Looking at the remaining parts, it should have been a bookshelf before. It collapsed due to decay or some other external force. The notebooks placed on top of it fell down one by one. Some of them rolled and spread out. Some of them were stacked on top of each other. Some of them were submerged in the earth and stone. Some of them had already rotted under the damp environment. The handwriting was deformed. Luo Nan didn't know if he had unearthed these things from the details or if it was an uncontrollable imagination in his mind. It was just like the surging tide of emotions in his heart that were nearly out of control. All of these stimulated a part of his physiological instincts. His eyes were moist and hot and his fingertips were faintly trembling. Yes, yes, yes. That's the look in your eyes. I like your reaction. A filial child. A student who made mistakes. A gambler who lost his capital. The image of the horned demon reappeared. It was like an aria with an undulating tone. It was like the sharp laughter of a devil. It reverberated back and forth in the space presented by the picture. This is my sincerity and bargaining chip. Thinking back to when I first discovered them, I was so tired that my back ached from organizing them. I felt like I had lost 10 years of my life. Boss Luo, do you understand now how sincere the price of 1,000 points was? But the problem is that a man's dignity needs to be vigorously protected. So I don't just mind the wrong position of your beautiful secretary. I also mind the attitude you had when speaking to me just now. I need mental compensation. Yes. What should I multiply it by next? Horned demon, don't go too far. Octopus hated that he couldn't reach out and drag the horned demon out from the projection area. The horned demon spread out his hands and faced Luo Nan, and Octopus stares with a warped and ostentatious smile. I said that you will regret it. This is because you are unable to refuse my bargaining chip and trump card. Then 4 times. The horned demon held his belly in laughter when he saw Octopus' face suddenly change color. Relax. Relax. For the sake of our fellow Xia City branch companions, I will take care of your actual purchasing ability. I'm talking about 4 times the minimum of 1,000 points. 4,000 points. Octopus no longer dared to speak at this time. The horned demon began to perform like a stage play. You can think that I'm opening my mouth like a lion. You can also bargain as you please. And I will adjust the price at any time according to your performance. It's possible to increase it again. But please pay attention. Right now I need to emphasize the main point. This is because I have a request that cannot be refused. He drew a circle in the air. Only a second later did Luo Nan realize that it was the sign of a clock's hand turning a full circle. This transaction needs to be completed within 12 hours. 12 hours. That's right. I know that there are too many capable people by Boss Luo's side. And the 2 photos I showed you and the conversation I'm having with you right now have already exposed a lot of information. If I give you the time to deduce, I'm not sure if I can still protect the benefits I deserve. The horned demon put on a calm demeanor with great difficulty, but he was narcissistic in the next second. And I'm a sentimental person. If you really bring out old man you and let him argue with me, maybe I'll become soft-hearted and agree to lower the price? I'm also taking a risk, okay? So, 12 hours. And this is calculated from the time I came into contact with Octopus. That's right. Our negotiation time is also counted. You can negotiate with me for up to 11 hours. Whether or not you have time to pick up the goods is another question. Wait, there's more. The horned demon raised a finger before Luo Nan could respond. In order to see your sincerity, I need a down payment. 50% down payment. It's 1,000 points as the base. Give me 500 points first. I know you can take it out. And we are all companions of the Xia City branch. It's especially convenient to transfer money. Octopus was stimulated by the word companions, to the point of going crazy. He gritted his teeth and growled, "You're not talking about business. You're kidnapping. Is there a difference?" The horned demon curled his lips and wagged his finger. Resource monopoly, patent monopoly, market monopoly. Which model isn't kidnapping? Capital can do it, but the horned demon, can't do it? Oh, speaking of kidnapping, maybe I can go a bit further. For example, like this. The horned demon snapped his fingers. The ruined bookshelf that appeared in the projection area suddenly burst into flames. All the images were distorted in the fire. Just as Boss Luo just reminded me, the true value of these notes can be reflected perfectly in the photocopies. As for the commemorative value, if we can't do business with each other, what's the use of keeping them? The horned demon's long and narrow eyes reflected the light of the fire and the color of blood. How about we make a bet? If this business fails, what will I do? When the time comes, it won't be these pictures with special effects. I will bring out even more efficient results for you to enjoy. Damn, I feel like I'm a villain when I talk like this. Then let's end this quickly. Your answer, kid. Luonan felt his ears buzzing after listening to too many of the horned demon's lines. His mind was a bit dizzy. He didn't pay attention to the threats in the horned demon's long speech. He didn't pay attention to the self-entertainment. He just confirmed with the horned demon according to his own understanding. You entered my grandfather's wilderness laboratory. The horned demon was slightly stunned. He chuckled. The standard answer. The surprise level isn't high enough, but most things in the world are like this. You can completely... Luonan interrupted him. There are still people there, right? The horned demon blinked and then said, You want to pry information from my mouth and get the coordinates? Chapter 730. Oh, from what you're saying, you want to proceed with the next transaction? Faced with Luonan's inquiry, the horned demon first grinned. Then he displayed exaggerated emotions and sympathy. I understand your mood, Boss Luo, but I must tell you sincerely that this is truly valuable information. Moreover, it is still in the process of rapidly increasing in value. And the most crucial factor in the increase in value is you. The more famous you are, the higher your status is, and the value of this clue will increase correspondingly. So much so that you, Boss Luo, who perfectly created this trend, can't afford this price. The evil capitalistic society is just this shameless. Actually, quite a few people have already offered a price for it. I'm currently deliberating. That's right, I can tell from your eyes that your guess is correct. I will do my best to utilize the practical value of these notes. In any case, you just want a commemorative value, right? The horned demon quickly returned to his distorted smiley mode, and he laughed even more cheerfully. It's still the same words. Everyone needs to revise their impressions of each other. Actually, I'm a good person, but it's not easy for people to understand me. I especially need people's respect and trust. I hope you won't disappoint me, Boss Luo. Okay, Boss Luo, you must make a decision now. Decide whether or not you want to continue this delightful transaction. If you agree, then send the deposit to my account first. Let me hear a ding. Then we'll have plenty of time to decide on the subsequent price and the location of the next transaction. Oh, I still need to remind you out of good intentions. You can see that I'm in the wilderness right now and transportation isn't very convenient. You need to take this into consideration as well. Looking at it this way, the deadline of 12 hours really isn't that generous. Sweat had already appeared on Octopus's forehead in the office. At this time, a message from the psychic wave network cut in. He subconsciously pressed his ear and turned to look at Luonan, but he saw that there was no reaction from Luonan. His back was drenched in sweat, but he couldn't hide it. He gave Luonan a frantic look. There was no luck involved. His little movements were captured by the horned demon. The horned demon simply didn't pay attention to this side. He just spoke to Luonan. Boss Luo, you're now a famous member of society. There's no need to find your parents to feed you. Oh, sorry. Maybe you've never experienced this before. At this time, Octopus forcefully interjected. I don't know what Luonan is thinking, but I am very clear that Centaur must have lost his mind. You want Luonan to transfer money to you? What method do you use? Don't forget, if the official website had more than 100 points, it would be a huge payment. That was equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars in funds. It wasn't like it was an organization against an organization, and the system didn't calculate it in real time. Also, when it comes to the stability of credit and currency, there's also a manual audit. Not to mention 12 hours, it might even be 24 hours. How do you calculate the time? The centaur cackled and pointed at the octopus. Such a technical question is definitely not something you can think of. Is that beauty he controlling it from behind? I know what you guys are thinking. You want me to use the high-authority channels of the psychic wave network, right? I'm not in Xia City right now. If I want to log in and receive the signal, I'll need to use my own strength to support the signal transmission. Then you can seize the opportunity to lock onto my position. Okay, no problem. I'm a straightforward and upright person. I'll do as you wish. Boss Luo, let's add each other as friends. Oh right, it seems like you still have a recommendation system. Then Octopus, you can be a lackey again. Octopus had already recovered his calm. He turned a deaf ear to the centaur's vile provocation, but he couldn't help feeling a bit anxious when he saw Luo Nan's current state. He felt that Luo Nan's mind was wandering. Luo Nan should be angered by the centaur. Luo Nan's mind must not collapse at a time like this. Luo Nan. The centaur and Octopus's continuous greetings finally brought Luo Nan's attention back. He looked at Octopus and Octopus gestured for him to look at the information sent on the psychic wave network. A new mission channel was established on the psychic wave network. For now there were only Luo Nan, Octopus and He Yuan. Octopus had already sent many messages. The last message was, delay him for a bit more time. He will certainly defend against the psychic wave network, but he can't defend against the sun and the weather outside. We can guess his latitude and longitude and lock onto his position. Let this deal go to hell. Luo Nan was expressionless as he left a message in the mission channel. It's fake. That's fake. He Yuan's message was practically synchronized with Luo Nan's. Octopus didn't react for a time. What? The scene presented to us by the centaur is fake. He Yuan explained further. Although the angle of the sun's altitude and the progress of the natural light shift are very realistic, if we calculate the latitude and longitude, it should be the Chongqing Lake area in the middle of the old continent in the northern hemisphere. The relevant areas are all bodies of water that have been severely polluted by radiation. It's impossible for a large area of the red earth wasteland to exist. Therefore, we can basically confirm that the centaur should be in a highly simulated virtual setting. Holy crap. Octopus's mind nearly collapsed again. Fortunately, his mind was still clear. Then let's go check the deal of renting the virtual setting. This kind of highly simulated virtual setting can't be a mobile version of the wild. Damn it, which city is he in? Yes, so he has nothing to fear. The Psychic Wave Network completed the global deployment of relay stations 2 years ago. It can satisfy basic needs such as money transfer, communication and so on. He can appear in any city in the world. Even if his current position is temporarily exposed, it will be very difficult to track him as long as the network is quickly disconnected. There is also the transaction location he provided. If he wants to get the follow-up payment, he will have to show up, right? Speaking to this point, Octopus smiled bitterly to himself. A drone is enough to settle the matter. Everyone, have you come up with a plan in private? The centaur clapped his hands in boredom. Even if you don't have a sense of time, you should at least have a bit of public morality. Lackey Octopus, I've sent my request and my location to you. Octopus gritted his teeth and transferred the damned friend request to Luo Nan. Almost at the same time, He Yuan reported the location of the centaur, whose city relay station 4. F***CK. Octopus cursed once again. The centaur really chose a good place. Whose city? Luo Nan still had an impression of this city in his mind. This was the hometown of Red Fox, who taught him the urban stealth technique. In the early years, Red Fox and a group of friends had offended a certain secret order there. But due to the inaction of headquarters and the local branch, the other party wantonly retaliated. Red Fox was barely able to escape and escaped to Xia City. It was because of this that the relationship between the two branches was terrible, even though Hu City and Xia City were both part of the old continent and weren't too far from each other. There would naturally be obstacles if they wanted to borrow the resources there to conduct tracking. So when Octopus heard this result, he nearly gave up all hope. The centaur laughed even more happily. Okay, I'll start the countdown. Don't look at me like that. I'm saving time for you guys. 1/6 of the 12 hours have already passed. Do you understand how time flies? Luo Nan's facial expression was still lacking in admiration. He just pulled up a satellite map of Hu City from the internet and asked He Yuan, which district is Relay Station 4 in? In the end, the centaur didn't know about the conversation in the dedicated mission channel. He had the absolute advantage and was wantonly releasing a scent that made people unhappy. He stared at Luo Nan and laughed so hard that his entire face was shaking. You have 10 seconds to make a decision. Decide if this transaction or kidnapping has any value in continuing to exist. Let's not talk nonsense. Let's count down the time I spend talking. I'll start counting down from 5. I always have a great sense of time. 3, 2, 1. Ding dong. The centaur's movements froze. After a bit of confirmation, he waved his arms and shouted without concealment, yes. To a pleasant cooperation. Luo Nan still lacked an intuitive feeling towards the transfer of 500 million worth of assets. His eyelids didn't even twitch. He just moved his lips and watched the centaur celebrating wantonly. He spoke softly, I hope so. He Yuan's reply appeared in the mission channel at this time. Jinyao District Pill Apprentice Street 452 Skyscraper Box Station. The signal covers an area of 50 square kilometers. Luo Nan's gaze shifted from this reply to the satellite map. Using it as a scale ruler, the sole cloak that covered the surface of the Earth's 510 million square kilometers shook slightly in the relevant area. It was like a sunken vortex or like a droplet of dew. The images of all living beings within a range of nearly 100 square kilometers and their corresponding auras were projected layer by layer in a warped pattern. The first wave was just a smoke-like silhouette. But soon, the aura of an ability user was naturally exposed within the smoke-like aura of a normal person. At the same time, Luo Nan's mental sensing network borrowed water molecules to condense into a thin mist. It was like a divine eye that covered the void. It received rays of light from the material world and carried out a panoramic restoration. This restoration was in no way inferior to a high degree of realism virtual setting. It was so much so that Luo Nan seemed to have completed a Riven-style jump. He arrived on the bustling streets of Huqing City. The Lake District Jinyao District Pill Apprentice Street 466 was a film and television special effects production base side by side with the tall building where the relay station was located. It was currently the peak time for people to get off work at noon. A dense stream of people and vehicles exited the base. Luo Nan was like an incorporeal specter. He moved in the opposite direction of the stream of people. He brushed past the people who were completely unaware of him and focused his cold and clear consciousness on a certain film studio within the base. Inside, the horned demons were still smeared with props of red clay. They were wantonly celebrating under the virtual daylight. The projection in Xia City's office and the real person in the film studio in Huqing were merging into one within Luo Nan's consciousness. They were determined to be the anchor points for the interference of power. Now select the node to insert from the countdown. Luo Nan had a strong desire to end this terrible transaction in advance. He began to carry out the final plan of action. Right at this moment, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. In the area where his consciousness was entrenched, someone cut in without warning and brushed past him. It was a middle-aged man. His figure was lean, his hair was sparse, and his face was full of tendons. Even though his face was expressionless, there were clear traces of gullies on his cheeks. He gave off a grave and stern feeling. Luo Nan was unable to sense any other information aside from this. There was clearly someone there, but on the mental plane, there was a heart-palpitating emptiness. Chapter 731. Since they brushed past each other, they were walking toward each other. In other words, this gentleman who was observing the empty space on the mental plane was walking out of the special effects production base. Was he an employee here? What a joke. Luo Nan recognized this person at first glance. Luo Yuan. He had once built a mutant lair in the center of Xia City. He had infiltrated the Shangding building to assassinate President Ouyang. At the same time, he had used the inconceivable planar crossbow to nearly kill Luo Nan. Although this series of actions ended in failure, it did not harm this person's strength. This was a terrifying extraordinary. This was the only person that Luo Nan's invincible mental senses were unable to capture and monitor. Just like in Xia City, Luo Nan's mental sense network was unable to capture this person's trajectory in advance. Luo Nan suspected that Luo Yuan's body was the same as in Xia City. It was a rapidly proliferating empty shell of a clone body. It simply did not form an imprint on the mental plane. But no matter what form or state Luo Yuan existed in, he appeared in this area at this time. It was almost certain that he had a direct and close relationship with the horned demon, with his grandfather's notebook, and with this kidnapping and blackmailing incident. Was he an accomplice of the horned demon? Yes, wasn't using the word accomplice too highly of the horned demon? Luo Yuan's pace was steady and fast. Since he did not discover Luo Nan's focus, he followed his own rhythm and quickly walked out of the studio building. He boarded a black flying car that had been waiting at the entrance for a long time. The flying car immediately started and soon drove out of the base. It merged into the congested traffic of Hu City. Meanwhile in Xia City, Rui Wen, who had just finished school, was as lonely as usual. She walked alone on campus, taking the opportunity to break away from everyone's line of sight. She turned into an uninhabited, secluded location and sent a signal to Luo Nan that everything was ready. The anchor point of Luo Nan's consciousness had long since locked onto the dancing horned demon in the studio. The horned demon was high in his performance. He was completely unaware of the subtle changes in the surrounding environment. He could not imagine that the silent Luo Nan, who was still enduring his extortion demands in the projection, had already arrived close to him. Luo Nan was gesticulating on how to stab. Luo Nan was 99% certain that he would be able to stab through the horned demon's annoying mouth in the next second. He would be able to kill all possibilities of the horned demon calling for help. The problem was that this thought had no effect on reality. Luo Yuan's influence was substantial. Looking at it from another angle, Luo Nan's failure to discover his grandfather's notebook in this area was also a key factor. Either the centaur doesn't have any sincerity in the transaction at all, or the transaction does exist, but the delivery has already been arranged. In other words, the centaur isn't alone. He has an unknown team around him. Luo Yuan, who had just left, was a solid hammer. Luo Nan let out a silent sigh. His consciousness floated away, and a strand of his mind fell upon the departing flying car. At this moment the active water molecules were combining with the cold and humid airflow of the air conditioner in the car, filling the enclosed space of the car and transmitting images and sounds from the other side. The driver, who happened to be driving, asked, "Isn't it inappropriate to let the centaur be there alone? Why don't I ask little Zhao to come and help?" Luo Yuan sat in the back seat with a straight posture. Only his slightly lowered eyelids showed that his body was in a relatively relaxed state. 2 seconds later he responded with a rather magnetic hoarse voice, "That treat plan is a matter for the young people. Whether it succeeds or not has nothing to do with me. Since the other side dares to let the centaur take the lead, then let him add a scene there. He has been holding it in for so long that he is going crazy." The driver chuckled. "He is originally a lunatic. Sorry." Luo Yuan withdrew his cold eyes and his hoarse voice maintained a slow rhythm. "Volunteers and experimental subjects should be distinguished. No matter how crazy the centaur is, he is still a warrior who actively fights against the genetic barrier." "Sir, my mentality is not right." The driver made a slip of the tongue and violated Luo Yuan's taboo. In just these 2 short sentences, a layer of cold sweat had already soaked his forehead. Fortunately, Luo Yuan didn't delve into it. He talked half to himself. The genetic modulation of the centaur isn't successful. The so-called reference model is restored to human DNA, and there will always be strange problems. The centaur is now like dry firewood with oil. Once it burns, the controllability is too low. Maybe these models conflict with the double helix structure? The driver no longer dared to interrupt on this topic. Luo Yuan raised his head to look at the cold sweat on his forehead. "Is it going to rain in Huqing? The air is stuffy and humid." "I'll adjust it." The driver was about to adjust the air conditioning function of the flying car when an invisible aura fluctuated from Luo Yuan's body. There was clearly no wind, but the car instantly became refreshed. The inside of the flying car became refreshed, but Luo Nan's consciousness was slightly sluggish. On one hand, he just received a lot of explosive information. On the other hand, the special structure of the water vapor driven by the soul cloak was instantly destroyed by the aura of Luo Yuan's radiation. Luo Nan almost thought that he had been discovered following and monitoring him. Fortunately, it turned out that it was just Luo Yuan's pursuit of a comfortable body. Even so, Luo Nan didn't dare to be like before, unscrupulously using the soul cloak to interfere with the operation. For a strong person like Luo Yuan, his perception of the external environment was exquisite. No matter how small the changes on the material plane were, it was not safe. Luo Nan carefully kept his distance. In this way, the scene and conversation in the sealed car were vague and hard to distinguish. It was difficult to extract effective information. Luo Nan could only wait. Wait for Luo Yuan to re-enter the open environment. Maybe then he wouldn't be so sensitive. Right? The flying car continued to move and boarded the airport highway. It looked like they weren't going to stop at Huqing. Instead, they were going straight out of the city. Luo Nan looked at the map and saw that there was an airport in that direction. They could also directly enter the wilderness. But no matter which one it would take over an hour by car. He definitely had to follow them. It was hard to catch traces of a great enemy. Moreover, his usual mental senses were useless. It would be too much of a pity to give them up. But as for the horned demon, was he really going to let them go? Luo Nan wasn't willing. For Octopus Bro, every second of negotiating with the horned demon was a torment. The horned demon wasn't worthy of the word negotiation. He was just somewhere between a joke and a dream talk. It was completely impossible to realize conditions. He kept instilling them into Octopus Bro, breaking through the bottom line of Octopus Bro's mental endurance. As for whether or not the negotiation would be successful, Octopus had already seen it. This damned bastard didn't care at all. Motherf asterisk cur, don't tell me this fellow just wants to scam 500 points and then run. The more Octopus talked, the more nervous he became. He didn't know if it was fortunate or unfortunate. After paying the sky-high price of points, Luo Nan, who was directly related to the transaction, maintained a stubborn silence. No matter how the horned demon provoked and teased him, Luo Nan didn't say a word. In the end, the centaur probably lost the source of pleasure that should have been the strongest source of pleasure, so he ended this meaningless negotiation in a dull manner. The final price stopped at 1,200 points. This was a fifth higher than the horned demon's so-called base price. According to his words, even my spit is worth this price. Octopus felt that he didn't play any role in this process. If Luo Nan was to say that he did, he probably made the horned demon sign a confidentiality agreement. He asked Octopus to ensure that this sky-high price of kidnapping and extortion was completely sealed off from the outside world. The 200 points above the base price was given under this name. Alright, these minor details were meaningless. Octopus finally confirmed the terms of the agreement. According to the conditions stipulated in the agreement, Luo Nan would send a special person to Hu City within 9 hours to receive the 12 notebooks that the horned demon had dug out from Luo Yuandao's wilderness laboratory. 2 of the notebooks were relatively intact, but the remaining 10 were more or less damaged. On average, one notebook is exactly 100 points. Thinking about it this way, don't you think it's not that expensive? The horned demon began to show off. If I convert it to credit points, then it's 100 million. I'm using this to buy your life. Do you think that extraordinaries won't be interested? Oh my, I'm so scared. How about this? As a bonus for the deal and to mend our relationship, I will provide you with a copy of the excavation site. We already have our notebooks. What's the use of having a copy? Octopus began to curse. If he didn't do this, he wouldn't be able to vent the resentment in his heart. The horned demon laughed heartily. Octopus, your brain capacity has probably shrunk from taking drugs. I'm not a professional archaeologist. Who would have the time and energy to preserve these tattered notebooks? Many days have passed in between, so quite a few notebooks have been damaged a second time. The things preserved by the photocopies from back then are a bit more complete. What do you guys think? Octopus didn't know what Luo Nan's mood would be when he heard these words. In any case, he kicked the office desk next to him after he cut off the communication. Horned demon, this madman. He's crazy. Luo Nan was startled awake. He subconsciously advised, Bro Octopus, don't be angry. If I'm not angry, then I'm a dead man. 1,200 points. Deducting your savings, there should be a difference of nearly 600 points, right? According to your current credit limit, this sum of money is equal to a third of your life savings being sold to the society. Do you understand? Luo Nan could only laugh. It doesn't matter if it's my value or my grandfather's notebooks. Neither of them can be measured by these points. Octopus was quite interested in Luo Nan's self-produced chicken soup. He Yuan had confirmed the conclusion of the negotiations at this time. She pushed open the door and entered. She looked straight at Luo Nan. As a senior member of the Xia City branch, the attitude and stance of the horned demons are worth discussing. I have already notified President Ouyang, Her Majesty Empress Wu and Old Yu. We will first have a small meeting to analyze and make the corresponding arrangements. If Mr. Luo has any questions or requests, you can raise them at the meeting. Everyone can solve them together. Chapter 732. Octopus heard He Yuan's arrangement. He immediately clenched his fist and smashed it into his palm. He gnashed his teeth. That's how it should be. Luo Nan's unexpected reaction made Octopus unable to react for a time. Perhaps this young man was too sullen. Did he want to run to a corner and lick his wounds? Well, speaking of which, no matter how vile the situation was, this was the first time Octopus saw Luo Nan this passive, without the ability to fight back. Sure enough, Luo Nan's emotional weakness was grasped. He was far more fragile than usual. Nanster, you need to be steady at this time. Didn't they say that winning first isn't winning? In the end, it all depends on who laughs in the end. Octopus felt that there was still room for redemption. He Yuan's meaning was that the three heavyweights of Xia City should hold a meeting to discuss how to deal with the consequences of Horn Demon's actions. In a certain sense, this was tantamount to endorsing and supporting Luo Nan. With Luo Nan's current status, this was obviously worth it. From another perspective, it was because Horn Demon, a genius who grew up in Xia City and was personally taught by President Ouyang and Old Yu, had displayed a terrible stance. It was no different from betrayal. Speaking of which, he had fled into the wilderness in a sorry state because of his bet with Her Majesty Empress Wu. Octopus was sighing when he heard Luo Nan say, Horn Demon's attitude is very suspicious. I need to ponder it a bit. But I'm not too familiar with this person. I won't be able to raise any problems even if I go. In any case, Brother Octopus was involved from start to finish. Some things can be relayed by him. Hey. There's one more thing. It's more important to me. Luo Nan's gaze turned to He Yuan. Horn Demon said that I can't afford the transaction. He Yuan understood. Mr. Luo Yuandao's wilderness laboratory. Yes. I heard my aunt say that when grandfather was in the wilderness he migrated with the tribe of vagrants. There were many laboratories of various sizes, but most of them were abandoned. The ones that survived were all seized by the Scientific Research Ethics Committee and resold to various wilderness research institutes. If there really is a laboratory that survived and buried notes or other clues in the ruins, I really want to know. Luo Nan rambled on, but he finally understood what he meant. He Yuan nodded. I will send people to investigate. It won't be hard to investigate large sums of money and credit transactions related to Horn Demon. There will be results soon. Luo Nan gave a slight nod in thanks, then he slowly walked out the door. Octopus still wanted to persuade her, but He Yuan stopped him with a look. She only asked, Do you need me to arrange a car for you? No, I'm fine alone. Luo Nan walked through the ground floor area of the Shangding building. Most of the people he saw were members of the branch. Luo Nan might not remember many of them, but the vast majority of the people here had attended Luo Nan's classes. It was rare to see Luo Nan appear at the branch headquarters on normal days. They were surprised and they greeted him warmly. For a moment, Teacher Luo, Professor Luo, Boss Luo, and all sorts of other titles rang out. From beginning to end, Luo Nan didn't say a word. His gaze didn't stray. He walked over quietly, almost indifferently. He had an appearance of keeping strangers away from him. It was hard for the ability users who were in close contact with him for the first time to not be able to avoid cursing in their hearts. Those who were a bit more familiar with him found it a bit strange. Who provoked Boss Luo this time? Luo Nan maintained this state as he boarded the elevator. He chose the closest flying car landing platform. The elevator door closed and the smooth steel plate reflected his figure, which was as straight as a statue. Coincidentally, there was no one else in the elevator other than him. Luo Nan stared fixedly at his reflection in the mirror. His face was stiff and cold, displaying a terrible mood. This was not fake. Anyone who encountered this sort of thing would be unable to suppress the rage in their hearts. However, the pupil of the mirror that connected with Luo Nan's gaze was calm and restrained to the point that Luo Nan himself felt astonished. The eyes were the windows to the soul. The soul hidden behind this window seemed to have been waiting for this scene to happen. He had been waiting for it for a long time. Luo Nan extended his hand and his fingertips streaked across the steel plate. He subconsciously wanted to restore the scene in his heart, but he soon restrained himself. He just nodded at his reflection in the mirror. Your reaction is in accordance with normal logic. This included the words he had said to Octopus and He Yuan, as well as the request he had made. This is the result that the person who planned the so-called treat plan wishes to see. But the ultimate goal of deliberately provoking you like this is certainly not just to make you unhappy. He wishes to use this sort of negative emotion to drive you to do certain things. He wishes to control your actions in a disguised way. What does he want you to do? Luo Nan conversed with his own reflection because he was the only one who understood the underlying logic hidden behind all appearances. What would the angered Luo Nan do under normal circumstances? Would he chase and kill the horned demon all over the world because of the notebook? Well, it's impossible for the other side to know about the soul cloak and the global mental sensor network. Under the other side's logic, you will be angry and irritable when faced with such a situation, but you will be powerless. Maybe the person who planned this doesn't want you to lose your rationality. Because the actions of a person who has lost his rationality are hard to grasp. He can't be called a guest, but an enemy. The other side will most likely control the heat. Because of this, the horned demon's opening of the transaction was admittedly a crazy act to vent his malicious emotions. It was clear that he wanted to blackmail people. However, the notebook that was the transaction item was not in his hands at all. It was impossible for him to do something even crazier even if he wanted to. The roles of the negotiator and the delivery person were separated. This could be considered a type of risk control. Therefore, there shouldn't be any problems with his grandfather's notebook. The elevator went up to the middle section of the building. The elevator door opened and someone came in. Luo Nan saw a youth wearing a school uniform standing straight in the middle of the elevator. Luo Nan stared straight ahead and his lips were slightly moving. It was as if he was conversing with an incorporeal spirit. The scene was awkward for a time. This was only for the latecomers. Luo Nan had completely entered a state. He felt his mind grow clearer and clearer. His logic became clearer and clearer. He was like a student who had just stepped into an exam room and suddenly discovered that all the exam questions had been done before. Every single one of them seemed familiar. He walked onto the landing platform and boarded a flying buck car. He sat in the last row and casually chose a destination. He didn't stop thinking this entire time. They're fishing. Grandfather's notebook is just bait, not a hook. If there really is a hook, it should be the information that no one has the money to buy. I will bite the bait. It doesn't matter if I know that this is a trap or not. They will let me go to a place to be a guest. They will use a relatively natural method. Perhaps they want to cooperate with me. Therefore, the horned demon will be pushed out to be a target. They can use normal transactions as a cover. They can start from zero and establish a relationship. Luo Nan switched back and forth between addressing you me. His mind wasn't chaotic at all. Right now he already had a clear train of thought in his mind to solve the problem. He had a basic framework or paradigm. He looked at the problem in front of him and watched his opponent's move. He was able to predict the corresponding point. All he needed to do was wait for reality to verify it. Luo Nan didn't have to wait too long. He Yuan sent a message on the psychic wave network when the flying bug car took off and landed for the third time between the high-rise buildings. According to the agreement, the first 2 sets of notebook for verification have been received. That fast. Old Yu has an old friend in the Hu City branch. He's trustworthy. He's not far away, so I asked him to take care of it. This is a live video. And so Luo Nan saw 2 notebooks with relatively obvious defects. The contact that Old Yu requested was wearing gloves. He carefully flipped through the pages that were already somewhat sticky. Luo Nan recognized with a glance that the clear and blurry handwriting on each page was the handwriting of his grandfather, Luo Yuandao. That's right. It's this. Luo Nan didn't just use video verification. His mental sensing network also followed the relevant location information and quickly locked onto the location. He did even more. In fact, the sensing network of Hu City was simultaneously displaying information from multiple levels and multiple angles. Aside from the 2 notebooks that were already exposed on the surface, the horned demon who was gorging himself in a restaurant near the special effects production base and Luo Yuan who was about to enter the airport all left clear and continuous traces of their actions on the sensing network. Luo Nan even used a near-omniscient view mode and a bit of luck to discover the delivery person, who was nervously setting up 20 kilometers away from the first delivery location. Of course, he also carried other notebooks with him. Basically, the protective measures were quite complete. His conjecture matched with reality. If Luonan wanted to, he could snatch the remaining notebooks right now and make this kidnapping and blackmail deal go to hell. But Luonan didn't make any further moves, just like when he let the horn demon go. But this time there was no fear or helplessness in his heart. What replaced it was a peculiar feeling of anticipation. He needed further verification, but he wouldn't be satisfied with just verification. This game of chess had just begun. Of course, it wouldn't do to simply watch people make their moves. But to directly flip the chessboard right now was truly a reckless waste of God's gifts. Yes, this description was correct. Luonan had heard of an even more straightforward description. It came from a fellow psychic, Gao Meng Gao Tianshi. It seemed to be a bit more appropriate, playing with the spirit of divination, being able to lift up the skirt of the goddess of fate and see the beautiful outline of the future. It's not an easy thing to do. Every time this happens, I don't even have time to enjoy her flirting. How can I destroy it so easily? There's no need to talk about good things. Even if it's a bad thing, I'll grind it to the very end. Then I'll play with a heart-pounding reversal. It'll feel good enough to the bone. Then I won't waste this trip. Back then Luonan just laughed with his head down. He didn't express his opinion. But honestly speaking, he was in a leisurely and fascinated state at the time. He silently gave it a few thumbs up. Chapter 733. It was already nighttime in Xia City. The lights of the tall buildings and all sorts of transportation vehicles filled the air, forming a barrier of light that blotted out the starry sky. It died, this seaside city that never slept. Octopus yawned and drove away from Shangding Building. The second he got into the car, he set the car to autopilot mode. His whole body was almost curled up in the driver's seat, his upper and lower eyelids fighting back and forth. After an afternoon of meetings, he was physically and mentally exhausted. The most tragic thing was that he still had to work the night shift tonight. I heard that Luonan would be able to quit school soon. I'm so envious. I'm so busy that I'm dizzy. Octopus suddenly shuddered. Although He Yuan would most likely inform Luonan of the conference spirit in time, this matter had arisen because of him. His good intentions had caused a disaster. Not only did he cause Luonan to lose a lot of money, his mood was also terrible. He couldn't just let it go. At the very least, his attitude had to be clear. He slapped his own face as he thought to this point. He forcefully pulled himself together and sent a communication request to Luonan. Nanster, where are you? Are you all right? Octopus deliberately gave up on the half-joking title of Boss Luo. During the afternoon meeting, he directly faced the branch's big three. He also listened to He Yuan's intelligence analysis. He was able to carefully experience Luonan's current level of contact and the predicament and pressure he faced. He felt that the extremely domineering titles like boss and boss, as well as the subconscious expectations, were too cruel for a child who had yet to reach adulthood. Why don't I just take a day off today? I'll go and apologize to him and try my best to comfort this young man's broken heart. Brother Octopus, the meeting is over. Luonan's voice was tranquil. It was impossible to hear any fluctuations in his emotions. It was just a bit light, as if he was speaking in a relatively quiet place. Ben, are you home? If it's convenient, let's go out for a drink or two. Non-alcoholic drinks, just to chat. I'm on your side. Octopus subconsciously turned his head. Traffic was everywhere. Where was Luonan's shadow? 2 seconds later he came to his senses. You're in the sanatorium. Yes, I'm here to see Grandpa and Dojo Master. I see. Octopus chuckled, but in his heart he was groaning. Oh no, oh no. At this time, going to the sanatorium to see Grandpa was obviously affected by the incident and hadn't jumped out of the pit. It wasn't easy to jump in the first place. That damned 1,200 points. Not only did it wipe clean all of the wealth Luonan had accumulated over this period of time, it also made him bear a heavy debt of over 400 points. The branch did have some support measures, but 400 points was still a large number. They still had to go through the credit channels of the headquarters, and the transfer of accounts was a very complicated process. It would definitely affect them for a period of time. This was just a small matter. The most disgusting thing was the coordinates of the laboratory in the wilderness. According to the preliminary results of He Yuan's investigation, that bastard centaur really played around with this matter. Octopus thought a bit too much for a time. Luonan was a bit baffled. Bro, Octopus? Wait for me. I'll go back now. Around 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, the peak hour had passed. Octopus drove the flying car to the maximum speed limit, which was about 40 minutes later. The sanatorium was already in sight. But along the way he kept receiving calls. Just as he was about to enter the main door, Zhang Yingying called again. I heard that you pushed Boss Luo into a pit again? What do you mean again? You're the again okay? Let me think. Bamboo pole, crag burst, paper cut, chini kun. You're already in the 5th wave. Everyone's in the group. If there's anything, just ask them. Zhang Yingying snorted. It's better to do less things that directly annoy Boss Luo. He's certainly unhappy right now and I'm stuck with negative energy. We won't infect each other. It's fine to just ask you the main culprit. She had to touch a sore spot. Unfortunately, Octopus didn't say anything. He could only laugh dryly and forcefully open up a second battlefield. Oh my, you're really considerate. It's just that you're not too quick. Speaking of which, you've been yelling half a year ago. How come you haven't made any substantial progress? Get lost. I'm being serious. Everyone was old friends, so Octopus wanted to find a topic to relieve his stress. He found a place to park his car while chatting with Zhang Yingying. Nanster isn't a straight man of steel. He's a science monk. His eyes light up when he sees beautiful girls when he goes out to play. Normally you cat eyes, secretary he and that beautiful senior of his often hang around him. I even thought that he was enlightened a long time ago. Otherwise would I have lost my mind after that appraisal the day before yesterday? You're bored. Zhang Yingying's tone was extremely annoyed. She had lost her usual sharp tongue. I'm worried for you guys. You're a bit better off. You have Her Majesty Empress Wu's protection. You normally do things quite openly. You're just tangled up with the progress of your supernatural powers. But look at Luo Nan. Octopus suddenly choked when he spoke up to this point. The layers of information and corresponding feelings that had poured into him all afternoon suddenly surged up and down. They were blocked in his throat, causing his voice to sink. Look at Luo Nan. His age, his ability, and his net worth. Let's not talk about the inner world. Even in normal society, who doesn't pick up a girlfriend, play games, go to a disco, take some drugs, drive a car and waste their lives for a bit? They're afraid that they won't be able to spend enough. But he's good. Every step he takes is a pit. Every step he takes is a fucking pit. He's so young, yet he has a debt of 400 million in the blink of an eye. And this is the easiest to jump out of. Let's not talk about others. Just me alone would have a mental breakdown if I encountered something like this. He's only 16 years old this year. Where would he go to vent his pressure? Over and over again, people really will go crazy. Zhang Yingying was silent for a few seconds. When she spoke again, her voice was a bit erratic. There's a personal document. Have you seen it yet? You're talking about the one that was all over the place some time ago. Leighton did. Octopus was considered an insider in the industry. Of course he had seen the analysis report of Luo Nan's personality from a certain powers think tank. At the time, Octopus just felt that the report was the same as other similar reports rooted in psychoanalysis, archetypes, personality masks and other theories. He could always find some corresponding points or sides. But when put together it was specious. It could be used as a reference, but it couldn't be completely trusted. He persisted in this point of view until now. But his current state of mind couldn't be compared to back then. His mind spun a bit more and his heart felt inexplicably apprehensive. He coughed. Don't create a tense atmosphere. You clearly know that your entire body is filled with negative energy right now. Don't blindly infect it. Nanster is currently in the sanatorium. I just returned as well. I'll go take a look at his situation first. If there are any problems, I'll communicate with you guys in time. Octopus hung up after saying a few more words. He had already arrived at the isolation sanatorium area where Luo Yuandao was. This place was cold and quiet at night. There was practically no one to be seen. But when Octopus turned to the corridor outside of Luo Yuandao's ward, he saw a silhouette outside the door from far away. The silhouette was facing the glossy wall, and the silhouette was stretching out his hand to draw something in the air. Octopus was stunned. Then he deliberately adopted a cheerful attitude. He called out from far away, "Hey Nanster. You're facing the wall here?" "Yeah. My evil god was driven out by my grandfather. Gym Master played a great role in it. He's currently receiving a reward." Luo Nan laughed in response. His tone sounded very relaxed. Really? Octopus walked up to the front of the ward and looked through the observation window on the door. Sure enough, there were two patients, both of whom were emaciated to the point of being out of shape. They sat facing each other. The older man was talking with spittle flying everywhere, and the younger middle-aged man was listening attentively. The scene was quite harmonious. Gym Master Xiao was actually able to go together with the old man. It's truly an anomaly. The old man's body and mood have taken a great turn for the better recently. Octopus intentionally or unintentionally brought up all good news. Luonan was indeed smiling. He maintained this smile for a long time. Yeah. It's all thanks to Gym Master. Oh right, bro Octopus. Do you have the latest news? I'm talking about the coordinates of the laboratory. Sister Yuan made a phone call just now. She didn't explain the matter too clearly. Is there trouble again? Octopus originally wanted to completely block out these vexing matters, but Luonan's sensitivity and incisiveness made it a bit difficult for him to resist. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "There's no definite news yet. There's just a clue. Secretary, he probably believes that there's no conclusive evidence, so." What clue? Luonan went straight to the point. It's the horned demon. He's been in contact with a few authoritative auction houses of the inner world recently. Apparently the business he discussed is quite large. There's no concrete evidence for the specific situation or the exact next buyer. Auction. Luonan muttered to himself, repeating this word many times. His brows furrowed. He seemed to be pondering and distressed. Oh no, there's no point in thinking about this right now. Octopus didn't want Luonan to waste his brain power on the grapevine. Just as he was advising Luonan, his ear vibrated. Yuan was calling from the psychic wave network. Octopus was a bit startled. He subconsciously walked a distance away before picking up. Before he could speak, Yuan blasted him with a question. Have you already arrived at the sanatorium? Yeah. I'm chatting with Nanster right now. Octopus instinctively felt that there was something wrong with Yuan's attitude. What's his current state? What state? He's average. He's all right. What's wrong? Octopus wasn't too sure, and Yuan's question made his heart flustered. Yuan didn't say anything more. She immediately sent him a short video. It was clearly an image taken from the elevator's surveillance cameras. Octopus only needed to sweep a glance before he couldn't tear his eyes away. Within the enclosed elevator car, a youth wearing a school uniform was raising his head and pointing forward. His lips were moving as he said something in all seriousness. He was either serious or smiling. It was clear that he was communicating with someone. But in reality, there was nothing else in the direction the youth was pointing at besides the closed elevator door. This youth was Luonan. Chapter 734. Octopus walked further and further away during the conversation with Yuan. He had already arrived at the fire door in the middle of the corridor, covering half of his body. In this way, Luonan was more or less alone in the corridor of the inpatient department. It looked like the young man didn't care about the contents of Octopus's conversation. For him, the smooth wall in front of him seemed to be a unique pleasure. Octopus saw Luonan pointing at the wall in circles. It was as if there was a complicated drawing that needed him to identify and correct it. Yes, that was it. Luonan's fingertips weren't random. They were pointing and drawing in a specific area, seeming to be methodical. A smile appeared on his face as the pointing process progressed. It became more and more obvious, continuing to spread. It gave people the feeling that it was a carefree and refreshing feeling that came from the heart. It made people who saw it unable to refrain from laughing. But just by thinking about the corresponding reality, Octopus felt a chill seeping out from the deepest part of his bones bit by bit. It then turned into a sad and sour chilly wind, blowing at his internal organs and causing them to twist into a ball. F***ck me. Octopus slapped himself in the face. Yuan could obviously feel such an unforeseen event. Her voice became extremely serious. You mentioned the coordinates? I told Horned Demon to contact the auction house. F***ck. For a time, Octopus didn't know what to do other than spitting out profanities at himself. What's his current state? Octopus gaped. He discovered that he couldn't describe it and he didn't want to. He could only open the Hexier's shared perspective function and let Yuan see for herself. Soon the other side was silent. A long time passed before she said, "You're a doctor. Do you think you can perform a mental test on Mr. Luo without him noticing? This octopus was speechless. Yuan couldn't find a better method in a short amount of time. She could only say, I'll go consult Mr. Bai and notify President Ouyang and the others. You stay there and observe. The communication ended. Octopus stared blankly for a while before suddenly punching himself heavily in the chest. He was so vexed that he lost his sense of the changes in the outside world. He woke up with a start when someone called out to him. Dr. Zhang. Octopus turned his head in shock and saw a beautiful woman who was half a head taller than him. A refreshing denim jacket paired with a pair of trousers made of the same material was very handsome and neutral. It was enough to entertain most men and a considerable number of women. But right now, Octopus wasn't in the mood to appreciate this. He was surprised and a little flustered. This was because this tall beauty was none other than Luo Nan's older cousin, the female rock singer Moya. It's okay. The corridor is too stuffy. Octopus really wanted to slap himself in the face again. She didn't have a problem with you, so you were just poking at my sore spot. Out of politeness, Moya did not pursue the matter further. In the past few months, Dr. Zhang Yuliang had been in contact with the family quite a few times and had given her grandfather a lot of extra care. After a while they had become very familiar with each other. If he was in a bad mood he might have been dumped by his girlfriend. Why use concern to stab him in the back? And in comparison Moya was a bit more concerned about her cousin. Luo Nan is here too. What's he doing? Waving at the air. Idea, let's start thinking about the painting. When he said this, Octopus almost couldn't control his emotions. His eyes and nose were dry, and he just wanted to find a secluded place to cry. Moya gave him a couple of glances. Her eyes seemed to say, Are you kidding me? At this time she finally felt that the atmosphere was a bit off. Her brows furrowed slightly and her gaze became much sharper. Octopus was an experienced ability user. When he saw that the situation was far from good, he used the powerful control of an ability user to carry out strict control over his expression and body. He revealed a professional smile towards Moya. It's so late. Miss Moya still came? Yes. I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. It might be quite long, so I came to take a look. It's all thanks to Dr. Zhang for helping us pass the flexible visitation application. You're too kind. It's what I should do. When did Luo Nan come over? Around noon? I'm not too sure. I just got here. After a few awkward words, Moya didn't see any more clues. Her expression didn't change either. She gave a slight bow and walked over to Luo Nan on the other side of the corridor. Was this luck good? Octopus looked at Moya's back and a bit of expectation floated in his heart. He extended his hand to take off the glasses on the bridge of his nose and pinched the space between his eyebrows. He just hoped that his family's intervention would allow Luo Nan to jump out of his terrible state in time. On the other side of the corridor, Luo Nan wasn't clear about Octopus's mental activity. For reasons of secrecy, Luo Nan didn't allow his new psychic drawing work to appear outside. He only allowed it to be mapped on his retina for reference. The nature of the psychic drawing determined the richness and complexity of the imagery and information. Even though he had personally created it, he was always able to discover more details when he looked at it again. For example, on the silhouette of the giant wheel formed by Wu Jun's portrait and the perspective technique, there was a vague silhouette that appeared like fine gauze. It used to look like mist at night, but now it was clearly a fluttering cloak that shrouded every corner of the work. Was it the soul cape that I controlled? Or was it the sacred cloak of the Xia Luo order that led to this chain of events? Or perhaps there was a direct connection with his grandfather's crazy and persistent ravings. Luo Nan knew that there was an unreachable distance between him and the standard, successful people of society, when it came to intelligence and calculation. But then again, the schemes of these successful people relied on nothing more than their enormous and complex network of power and influence. They also relied on comprehensive intelligence and precise and in-depth analysis on this foundation. Luo Nan could only concede defeat on a conventional level when it came to these resources and abilities. But if he opened up a different path in the field he was good at, it wouldn't seem to be a bad thing. At the very least, the person who designed this treat plan could never have imagined that Luo Nan would use a completely unscientific method to grasp the corresponding omens and extremely crucial links the night before their plan was truly launched. The cape, Wu Jun, the horned demon, the coordinates of his grandfather's laboratory, the auction, and the information regarding maritime activities that Cat Eyes had obtained from the Wild Inn. It would require a lot of far-fetched imagination to link these elements together. But right now Luonan didn't need to imagine anything. Last night he had already used an even more brilliant and mysterious method to perform an overall pre-reading. Right now he just needed to wait for time and the changes in the situation to catch up to the overly advanced pace of his psychic senses. Looking at the current stage, the opponent's every move was indeed on the predicted point. This sort of coincidence really made Luonan, a person with obsessive-compulsive disorder, feel completely satisfied. The sound of footsteps approached and Moya's slightly raspy voice rang in his ear. "Congratulations. You've completely let go of yourself. I'm really sorry for missing the family meeting and not being the first to congratulate you." Luonan turned around and pursed his lips. "Even if you don't display the demeanor of an older sister as the eldest daughter of the Mo family, is it really good for you to not share the worries of your parents? If you were there last night and spoke like this, I would have become a scapegoat. Do you think that would be better?" Moya beamed as she reached out her hand and pinched Luonan's cheek. She had rarely done this sort of action in recent years. Luonan slapped her hand away in disgust. "You're in a good mood, huh?" "Same here. I saw you facing the wall just now and I really thought you were depressed. Luckily, I immediately rushed back to express my support when I heard the news that you were going to take a leave of absence from school. That's because I became a blocking target first." Having said this, Luonan finally expressed his doubts. "What are you doing here so late at night? Your band is on the verge of collapsing and your schedule is still this tight? Get lost." Moya gave a light grumble and smiled in the blink of an eye. "I'm going on a business trip out of town tomorrow. I might be gone for a month or even longer. I'm coming over tonight to take a look." "Business trip? Our band is going to have a small fan club in Band City in 10 days. Band City? Luonan's gaze instantly focused. Moya didn't notice anything else. Luonan's astonishment was very normal. After all, this announcement was a bit out of the norm. You know that the music market is much more mature in the East Asian cultural circle. The rock and roll environment is much better. You can say that we're expanding into the overseas market." "Really?" Luonan expressed his doubts. Nowadays, the 88 large metropolitan areas were all relatively closed off. Aside from those true world-class stars, the cultural industry was basically in a state of seclusion. A small star like Moya, who had just made her debut, might not even be able to make a name for herself in Xia City, let alone Ban City, which was across the sea. It would be an extravagant hope for their debut album to break 100 sales figures there. Also, there were some other problems with her Mountain Creek band due to Shui's departure. It was a complete mess right now. Would the management company approve of this kind of activity? Moya shrugged. "In any case, this is what the company said. And we have indeed found a partner over there. As long as we provide food, accommodation and a return trip, we can do whatever they say. There are rumors that the company wants us to debut over there. Of course, if our families strongly oppose it, then it's a different matter." "What use is family opposition?" Luonan's eyebrows jumped. He suddenly understood. Moya was giving him a report. After all, everyone in the family knew that Luonan had already entered a complicated circle. The atmosphere was still pervaded with tension a while ago. He was being watched both openly and secretly, both inside and out. Moya appeared to be rebellious and casual, but she actually inherited her parents' strong points at the core. She thought things through thoroughly and she was very good at considering problems from the standpoint of others. She bumped into Luonan tonight by accident, but she had to find the time to inform him of this matter no matter what. She also didn't want to become Luonan's burden. Luonan gazed at Moya. He had a general grasp of his cousin's mentality. Honestly speaking, he cared a lot about the words Ban City under the current circumstances. Perhaps this was a coincidence, but how many coincidences had he encountered in the past few days? He muttered to himself in silence. He went over Moya's introduction of the situation in his mind once more, and suddenly discovered a certain incongruity. Hold on. The fan meeting is in 10 days. What are you doing there now? Chapter 735. Luonan didn't reply to Moya in time. He needed to deliberate properly. Moya didn't care, at least on the surface. She first went to the ward to see her grandfather and took over from Zhou Xian. After receiving the reward, Zhou Xian slowly walked out of the room. Luo Nan was truly grateful to this teacher. He temporarily set aside the matter of Moya and went to greet him. Gym Master, I've really troubled you. I don't think it's troublesome. Zhou Xian's thin face was devoid of expression, but his tone was relaxed. Chatting with Mr. Yuandao is much better than being home alone. Luo Nan forced a smile. Only you. That's not entirely true. I can't say that Mr. Yuandao's mental state is very good, but as long as you grasp the core of his consistency, you will find many interesting things. There were a lot of things I had been thinking about, but I couldn't verify them. Even Mr. Yuandao didn't give a clear answer. It's good to be able to refer to it from a different angle. Zhou Xian's eyes moved slightly within his sunken eye sockets. He fixed his gaze on Luo Nan's face. You two are very similar in this aspect. Luo Nan took it as a compliment for the time being. Thank you, Gym Master. Octopus, who had caught up from behind, wailed in his heart. Don't be like him anymore, or I'll really have to hit my head against the wall to atone for my sins. Octopus was afraid that Zhou Xian would encourage Luo Nan to run wildly down the wrong path, so he braced himself and interjected. Gym Master Xiao came over this morning to accompany Mr. Luo. You have just recovered from a major illness. You can't be too exhausted. Luo Nan came to a realization. That's right. The Gym Master needs to recuperate. I'll head back right away. It's just a few steps anyways. Zhou Xian readily accepted Zhou Xian's advice. Luo Nan and Octopus followed by his side, preparing to send him to the elevator. As they walked, Zhou Xian was still talking about Luo Yuandao. Perhaps it was because he had interacted too much today, but he made a rare judgment. Unfortunately, you and Mr. Yuandao seem to have a conflict of logic. Mr. Yuandao is very sensitive and resistant to this, and refuses to communicate with you. Otherwise, you should be the one who understands him the most. Luo Nan believed it. I also have this feeling. Let's observe more and see if we can find a good entry point. Yes, I'll try drawing a portrait for Grandpa later. Portrait? Is that what you psychics call it? Yeah, pretty much. Octopus thought to himself, I've never heard of it. Zhou Xian was truly in a good mood. He spoke a lot more. As long as there is a possibility of affecting reality, we can try. In this aspect, you spiritual people have an advantage over physical people. You can imagine it and we will verify it. Your assumptions can be overturned at any time, but the price we have to pay to verify them is much more tragic. So, I hope you can make more accurate judgments and designs. I'll be counting on you to help Shuelei in the future. Luo Nan instinctively felt that the life experiences of the Gym Master should be hidden behind these words, not to mention that it involved Shuelei. Luo Nan obviously wouldn't be slow. He responded very seriously, Don't worry, Master. Zhou Xian nodded slightly and boarded the elevator. The closed metal door separated them from each other's line of sight, but Luo Nan suddenly thought that he could take a portrait of the Gym Master. He had always been curious as to how the dojo master ended up in such a state of being plagued by all kinds of illnesses with his martial arts cultivation. It was not until the night of New Year's Eve that they found out that it was a genetic problem. When the hospital basically ruled out congenital heredity, strong radiation and other common factors, the situation became even more confusing. There were some things that were hard to ask, but it was fine to rely on his own observations. It was hard to say whether or not the psychic diagram could reach this step. But this method gave him a clear train of thought. It gave him the ability to grasp key elements. At the same time, it allowed him to examine his own chaotic consciousness. It would be better if he used it more often in the future. From his experiences in learning configuration, he could see that any ability required a large amount of concentration and continuous practice. He also needed precise reflection and feedback. He had the virtual brain system to support him in terms of configuration, so his progress was godly. The psychic diagram was also fine. He would look at the feedback in reality. If it was accurate, then it was accurate. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. If the facts were verified, then the follow-up steps of the treat-to-dinner plan would probably take several days. But if he just used the daily trifling matters around him to practice, he should be able to quickly receive feedback. Then he could layer upon layer and the results would certainly be decent. Oh, Mr. Bai and the others had talked about some common practice techniques in the past, but there were some deviations from Luo Nan's reality. He needed to ponder over a practice plan that was more suitable for him. Though Luo Nan was blocked by the metal door of the elevator, it did not hinder his train of thought from flying and turning. To the side, Octopus's gaze moved back and forth between Luo Nan's face and the blurry mirror image on the elevator door. He subconsciously held his breath. Luo Nan finally felt Octopus's excessive attention. He turned to look at him. "What's wrong?" "Ah." Octopus went, "Ah," for quite a while, but he was unable to find a better reason in the end. He could only probe the key issue. "Nanster, there's a lot going on today. You should rest early and let your mind empty." Luo Nan laughed. "Oh, Brother Octopus, I understand what you mean. Actually, money is just an external object. I'm quite open-minded about it. At worst, I'll just hold a few lectures. Actually, my mind is very clear right now. Yeah, it should be said that it's unprecedentedly clear. There's certainly a way to solve the trouble in front of me." Octopus opened his mouth, but he was unable to speak in the end. "Fine, whatever you say will be the truth." If he were to be provoked again, he didn't know how he would end up. Speaking of which, didn't he Yuan go consult Mr. Bai? A professional should hurry up and come. At this time, Octopus had completely forgotten that he was also a professional. His heart was filled with a feeling of powerlessness when facing Luo Nan. Luo Nan still carried a childish air in front of him, but he strove to think like an adult. Or perhaps it should be said that Octopus believed that he was an adult. He hoped to come up with a solution. But how could things be so easy in this world? The horned demons who had concocted all of this, as well as the powerful enemies who had been pressuring Luo Nan on various levels and angles, would not let Luo Nan go. Luo Nan might not be unaware of this, but he might have to forget a few problems and pressures. He would search for a panacea to heal his heart on a more free and fantastical plane. Seriously. Octopus turned his head and took 2 deep breaths. He knew that he couldn't let Luo Nan continue living in his fantasies. He knew that Luo Nan was wandering on the edge of a split personality, so he forcefully brought up another topic. "I just heard you and Moya talking about banching vacation and whatnot. Are you planning on going out for a vacation?" Luo Nan certainly didn't have such thoughts. But if there really was a way to relax, perhaps it wouldn't be bad to accompany his family on a trip? Oh, about that. The smile on Luo Nan's face faded a bit. At this time in this situation, the coincidence that was not under his control was undoubtedly a type of disgusting element. He needed to properly think about it. He needed to investigate. It just so happened that he had rediscovered an investigative method that was most suitable for him. The portrait of his grandfather and Gym Master Xiao involved an in-depth exploration of the mental and material planes. It might be a bit too high-end right now, but the matter of Moya should be relatively simple. Moreover, it could be used as a supplement to the psychic drawing from before. Luo Nan's fingers twitched. He nearly wanted to draw a psychic drawing right now, but he knew that now wasn't the right time. He suppressed this impulse. Well, considering the complexity of the current situation, borrowing the resources of the society was a good choice. Right now, Yuan wasn't by his side, so Luo Nan consulted Octopus. "Bro Octopus, I feel that Moya's matter isn't too reliable." "Huh? What do you mean?" Luo Nan didn't mention any information related to the treat plan, in case it was hard to explain later on. He just explained the current situation of the isolation of the cultural industry in every major city. Then he voiced his doubts. "The drummer of my sister's band has already left the band. The replacement hasn't gotten used to it yet. They've lost a large chunk of their sales. And it's rock and roll, a niche genre. The so-called fan club is far too unreliable, including something about debuting again in banching. Does that management company think that throwing money into the ocean is very interesting?" "So you suspect?" Octopus took another breath and raised his eyebrows. He took off his gold-rimmed glasses and his gaze turned fierce and fierce. "Someone's up to something." Luo Nan never expected Octopus to have such a big reaction. He even subconsciously looked back. "It's just a suspicion. After all, there are many things in the field of entertainment that involve throwing money and listening to the music. I just want to understand. If we exclude the normal business activities of the company, is it possible that there's someone in the background who's paying for it? Some other scheme? Does our society have connections in the entertainment circle? It would be best if we could inquire about it." Having said this, Luo Nan suddenly recalled that Mingtang culture, which Moya belonged to, had the backing of the Castle Financial Group. And this financial group was actually the cornerstone of the Blood Flame Order's industry in the secular world. At the end of last year, the Blood Flame Order, headed by Lady Halder, had a conflict with a branch of the Control faction that had split off. This was because the Control faction had been operating in the military for many years, and they also had Tianbang, a great killing machine. Lady Halder's branch was no match for them. She was forced to withdraw from Xia City, and her industry suffered great damage. There was a period of time when she wanted to sell off Mingtang Culture's subsidiary companies that had strong geographical restrictions. This was to avoid even greater losses. But later, in order to maintain the diversity of communication channels with Luonan, the plan to sell off the company was scrapped. This was what Lady Halder had personally told Luonan. Luonan didn't understand or care about how Lady Halder controlled her industry. He only knew that the Blood Flame Order still had a considerable amount of control over Mingtang culture. This was a very good entry point. Of course, Luonan wanted to know what kind of results the psychic diagram would show. On the other side, Octopus used his greatest strength to control his fingers. He stuffed his glasses into the pocket of his white coat to prevent them from shattering. He did his best to maintain a smile. Answer: don't worry. We can't do anything outside of Xia City, but we're in our own territory. If some bastard wants to play dirty tricks, we'll let them understand what it means to be too late for regrets. Ah, okay. Luonan felt that Brother Octopus was quite excited. He went to make a call after he finished speaking. He called his friends and dispatched them left and right. He was more attentive than his own cousin. Could it be that he was a fan of Emoya? Or was he interested in Emoya? Could this sister's charm be able to invade the inner world? Luonan's consciousness shifted when he thought of Emoya. He didn't need to use his eyes to see Emoya. He even had a conversation with his grandfather. She was proficient in the art of speaking. Her tongue was quick and nimble. She would occasionally make the old man laugh. This was something that Luonan, who had a logical conflict, was unable to do. Luonan couldn't help but feel envious. He sighed. Chapter 736. Reality proved that some things still existed on the ideal level. They were more in line with human thinking and emotional tendencies. Luonan drew psychic diagrams for most of the night. He only fell asleep in the wee hours of the morning. He had a rare dream because his thoughts were too active. He was awakened by the vibration of the hexier in this state. He opened his eyes. The sky was just beginning to brighten. He hadn't slept for more than 2 hours. Luonan didn't see who the person was. He answered the call in a daze. The voice on the other side carried an unconcealable sense of dejection. We've more or less investigated clearly. Xia City is very clean. It's purely Ban City that's throwing money. They won't give us the chance to get involved easily. Bro Octopus. Luonan was able to distinguish who the person was now. He spent 2 seconds to connect Octopus's words with last night's situation. Yes, Octopus had volunteered to investigate the driving force behind Moya's trip to Ban City. The results were out now. Should he say that he wasn't surprised at all? Of course, no matter how bad Luonan's EQ was, he wouldn't say such stupid things. And he really did need detailed information on Octopus. He needed to compare it with the vague image of the psychic diagram he drew last night. What's the specific situation? Oh, wait a moment. Let me clear my head. Luonan closed his eyes and slightly adjusted the flow of his blood. He waited for the drowsiness in his mind to dissipate before speaking. Bro Octopus, continue. Octopus had been restraining his emotions this entire time. He weighed his words over and over in order to avoid giving Luonan any negative influence. We looked up the relevant calendar. The announcement of the fan club was nominally a part of the Ban City Music Festival. The event itself is formal. It is held every year. It also invites all the famous bands and musicians from all over the world, including some up-and-coming rock bands. Mountain Stream shouldn't be qualified, right? Yes. From what we understand from industry insiders, new bands like Mountain Stream definitely don't have the qualifications to receive an invitation. But they can participate at their own expense and make a name for themselves. Luonan sighed, but now someone is paying for them. No one can refuse. So who's paying? Lean Century is a well-known music company in Sakura City and even the world. It's a big shot in the industry and one of the biggest sponsors of the Sakura City Music Festival. Octopus's voice finally sounded a little more distressed. Lean has done a watertight job. This year they had indeed played a game of throwing money around. In addition to the industry bigwigs that they had invited every year, they had also appointed 3 new bands from each of the 88 metropolitan areas around the world to sponsor their trip to Banqing for free. Completely corporate behavior through normal channels? Yes, that's the crux of the matter. Through the investigation of the flow of funds and the consultation of the people who handled it, we can basically confirm that Mingtang culture, where Moya was from, only saw it as a pie falling from the sky. They went with the flow and were completely in a subordinate position. Luo Nan let out a sigh. I feel like I'm being overly sensitive. No. These are extraordinary times. We can't be too careful. Moreover, there's another news about Mountain Stream's debut in Banqing. Oh? Is there really such a thing? It can only be said to be a rumor, but it's true enough. According to a mid-level employee of Mingtang culture, most of the bands that Lin appointed as sponsors are actually underground bands. In other words, they aren't signed to a company. It's very likely that Lin will select a few of these bands and sign them to a management contract. Mountain Stream originally had the genes of an underground band. Even though they've already signed with Mingtang culture, it's very likely that Lin will take over if they're really interested. As long as the price is right, Mingtang culture won't refuse. Luo Nan grasped the crux of the matter. Why would they be interested? This. Octopus hesitated for a moment before saying, it's just a rumor. Last month, a director of Lin called Yuchuan Aishuk came to Xia City and saw Mountain Stream's performance. He seemed to be very interested. What's Yuchuan again? Yuchuan Aishuk. He's a well-known figure in the industry. He also has the support of his family. He's rich and powerful. Luo Nan went straight to the sensitive part. Is he interested in the band or is he interested in a certain person? I don't know about that. In any case, after he went back, Mountain Stream's name appeared on the newly released sponsor list. It said that Mountain Stream is the only band out of the 261 sponsored bands outside of Band City that have a signed company. Yuchuan Aishuk. Luo Nan was certain that he remembered this name. Is this fellow related to the inner world? Based on the current intelligence, there are basically no traces of him in the inner world. But at their level, even if they lack extraordinary talent, they are basically inextricably linked to this side. Moreover, Band City is one of the regions with the weakest barrier between the mortal world and the inner world among all the large metropolitan areas. Various orders and gangs are like weeds in every corner. With these as a cover, the influence of extraordinary powers can be considered to be a wild growth. Understood. Luo Nan already had a plan in mind. Octopus spoke again. I'm afraid there's nothing to investigate here in Xia City. It'll take a while for news from Band City to arrive. When is Moya leaving? She's leaving this afternoon at 2 o'clock. But her idea of traveling came too suddenly. There's still a bunch of paperwork to be done. She'll be going to the pier in the morning. Oh, has she arranged for bodyguards? Bodyguards? Luo Nan really hadn't considered this point. He was originally thinking that if Moya's trip was completed, he could rely on the entire world's mental sensor network to monitor the entire process. If something were to happen, he and Ruewen could join hands and fight against extraordinaries. Moreover, Moya was the only one allowed to go to Band City. Why couldn't he go? Octopus still stood on the traditional line of thinking. He strongly recommended that Luo Nan hire bodyguards. For the sake of safety, sending professionals to protect is a very normal matter. Right now the situation is unclear. Naturally, everything needs to be planned out. Plus, this way it'll be suitable to express our attitude. Oh, it's just like in ancient times. Yelling a few times when there's nothing to do. Octopus choked. That's right. Professionally speaking, it's best for bodyguards to be a dual configuration of the physical and mental side. This way both the meat shield and radar are present. Secretary He, Mr. Giant Arm and Mr. Zhongji have plenty of candidates. If you feel that a male is inconvenient, there are also excellent female candidates. Cat eyes. Luo Nan blurted out. This time it was Octopus's turn to be stupefied. He didn't expect Luo Nan to pick people so quickly. But after some thought he felt that it was extremely good. That's right. Cat eyes is one of the best radars. She's also an insider. She can be of help. In this case, finding a meat shield will be fine. Luo Nan grunted twice, but he was thinking that if Cat Eyes went to Band City, there would be many places that could help him cover up. It would be much more convenient for him to act there. Unfortunately, he couldn't find a second person like this in Xia City. Well, he couldn't find a second person with a similar abnormal relationship. Cat Eyes is such a lazy fellow. You'll need to personally tell her about this. Octopus's voice was a bit erratic. Luo Nan responded logically, "Oh, that's natural. Then let's count Cat Eyes as one. I'll go contact Secretary He and the others. I'll compile a list of names for you to decide by noon. Alright, 2 people is just a basic configuration. If you feel that it's not safe, then 3 to 5 people is normal. You don't need to worry about the expenses. We'll take care of everything. I'm hanging up now." Octopus was really full of energy. He went to do things in a hurry. Luo Nan sat on the edge of the bed and pondered a bit. He clearly organized the information he learned from Octopus. 10 seconds later, he let out a long breath. His mind relaxed, and the changes in the energies of all living beings within a 30-kilometer radius formed simple sketches. They appeared in his mind like an animation. His mind naturally focused on the family area. The sketches turned into clear and concrete images. He could see his uncle preparing breakfast in the kitchen. His aunt was in Moya's room, helping her pack her luggage while giving her orders. Moya was fed up from listening to them. She simply ran to the side to make a phone call. It was as if they were traveling companions. As for Mo Ping, he was awake, but he was curled up on his bed playing games. These scenes combined to form a familiar and tireless scene. Perhaps under his pen in the unrestrained psychic map, this was nothing more than a simple silhouette symbol, but this symbol was engraved at the very core, intertwined with his life and could not be separated. Naturally, he didn't allow any malicious intent to touch it. Luo Nan's gaze was deep and cold. He opened up the virtual work area and looked at the results of last night's labor. It was quite marvelous. He had clearly used Moya as a clue to trigger events, but Moya's shadow wasn't present in this picture. The elements that appeared included the silhouette of the city's steel jungle. There was also the shadow of a towering ancient tree. There was also a special silhouette that appeared twice, a luxurious cruise ship cruising on the ocean. All right, he could basically confirm it with this. The other side's treat plan was quite persistent. They wanted to get Luo Nan on board by every possible means. Speaking of which, this couldn't be considered a treat. Luo Nan was also picking at words last night aside from drawing. He specifically went to look up the word guest. But the word that gave him the deepest impression wasn't the word guest itself. It was another word that had a similar meaning to this word. Guest. Guest could be called together, but guest meant respect. Guest meant destination. The two were symmetrical. The guest was respected and the guest was humble. The guest was big and the guest was small. The one who formulated the treat plan certainly didn't treat Luo Nan as a VIP. Instead, he only treated Luo Nan as a forceful invitation to achieve a certain goal. In short, the other side lacked respect for Luo Nan. This didn't really matter, but if this disrespect was spread to Luo Nan's family and friends, then they could need as they pleased. Then it was no wonder that Luo Nan wanted to establish the proper respect. Luo Nan let out a long breath. He got up and got off the bed. He stood barefoot on the floor. His gaze passed through the window lattice and cast towards the bright eastern horizon. The mist that came from the ocean unfurled and changed under the illumination of the sun. It was suffused with multicolored light. Chapter 737. Unbeknownst, when the thick clouds had rolled over the mountains in the northwest direction, looming over the surface of the sea, it was as if a great army was pressing down on the border. But in the blink of an eye, it turned into rags riddled with holes. It could not contain the abundant water vapor above the clouds, causing them to pour down in large amounts, forming an overwhelming downpour. It also enveloped the entire cruise terminal in a misty mist. Luo Nan yawned. All right, the traditional event of waving goodbye is over. Moya glared at him. It's not the first voyage. Where did all this nonsense come from? Both of them were right. Even though there was an enclosed viewing platform at the pier, no one on the cruise ship would be in the mood to perform a sailing ceremony in the pouring rain. It was 12:15 in the afternoon, and Moya had spent a lot of time going through the formalities. At this time she had just finished checking her luggage and was waiting to board the ship. Her pace suddenly slowed down. Since it was a working day, Luo Shuqing was the only one who came along, aside from Mrs. Luo Shuqing, who took a special leave of absence to accompany her. Furthermore, most of his attention was still focused on flipping through the bodyguard information uploaded by the psychic wave network and making his final decision. Don't worry about the details. It doesn't make a difference whether it's 2 or 3. Wild Jujube was a female, so she could follow the boat here. Because God needed to equip himself to clear the level, he could fly directly to Ban City. Add in cat eyes, the radar meat shield and the firepower support. It'll be perfect. We'll do as you say. That wild Jujube is already at the dock, right? Okay, I see her. Luo Nan gave a slight nod to the muscular and beautiful woman who had just gotten up from the waiting area 30 meters away. He recognized the deep and reserved aura on her body. It could be said that he was acquainted with her and he established a communication link with her. Wild Jujube was indeed a professional. He was already in the zone, quietly approaching and entering his work position. Of course, he still had to inform Moya about this, but he could only do so after they arrived at Sakura City. Did you see someone familiar? Mrs. Luo Shuqing turned her head to talk to Luo Nan. She saw Luo Nan's gaze shift, so she asked in passing. Luo Nan was just about to deny it when a familiar silhouette really did appear in his field of vision. Moreover, the silhouette was walking straight in his direction, even raising his hand in greeting. Luo Nan subconsciously looked at the bodyguard's information. He scanned the entire list, but he was still stupefied. This person isn't here. Aunt Qing Moya, the woman who came over, took the initiative to greet him. She was tall and wore a short shirt and trousers just like Moya. However, she wore a thick long-sleeved shirt inside and a wide-brimmed hat on her head. She looked like a veteran backpacker who could travel to the wilderness at any time. Before Luo Nan could respond, Luo Shuqing laughed to the side. Tang Yi, you haven't been home much these past few years. That's right, Aunt Qing. It's because I'm running around with my teacher. This time, you guys have to take care of each other. Don't worry, Aunt Qing. Luo Nan made a deep self-reflection as he looked at the 3 people chatting and laughing. Was I too much of a homebody these past few years? But right now the more crucial question was, when did Tang Yi and Peony, his former mission partners, return from Spring City? Why did he suddenly appear at the pier of the cruise ship? Moreover, he seemed to be very familiar with Moya and Luo Shuqing. Let me go through the details. Luo Nan vaguely found a few verifiable clues from the disorderly events. But before he had time to organize them, the bodyguard Wild Jujube had already reported in a low voice. Mr. Luo, this person is Miss Moya's roommate on the ship. He has already passed the risk assessment. Is there a problem? There might not be a problem, but even the society had overlooked an insider under their noses. Her Majesty Empress Wu's capable right-hand man really wasn't easy to deal with. It's nothing. He's an acquaintance. Luo Nan decided to go back and communicate with Her Majesty Empress Wu. Right now it was more urgent to communicate with Tang Yi herself. He took a deep breath and cast his gaze, drawing Tang Yi's attention. President Tang, there's something I want to consult you about. Mrs. Luo Shuqing was very surprised. Little Nan and Tang Yi know each other? Luo Nan grinned. Yeah. She's his direct superior. Tang Yi smiled. Luo Nan joined the Mystic Arts Research Society at school. I'm an old member there. Due to some personnel changes recently, I temporarily took over the position of president. Of course, it's just a name. Oh, that's quite a coincidence. It's all thanks to this. There's something I want to consult President Tang about. Just call me Big Sister. You don't need to be an outsider. Tang Yi smiled as she took advantage of Luo Nan, but she cooperated with him and walked to the side. Luo Nan adjusted his breathing and decided to cut off all the branches and leaves. He got straight to the point. Well, let's talk about complicated relationships later. Let me confirm something first. Peony, you don't have any missions on hand, right? I've been on a business trip in Spring City for half a year. Whether it's my instructor or my boss, it's reasonable for them to give me some time off. Luo Nan stared at her. It's fine as long as you're not on a business trip. No matter what, we're partners. You and my sister are best friends, so there are some things I don't need to say. Relax. If there really is a mission, I won't let Moya get caught up in this maelstrom. But I heard that you've been plagued with troubles recently. You're in debt and you've implicated Moya. You're still under pressure right now. What, you're not happy to have a free bodyguard delivered to your doorstep? The news spread that fast. Of course. Zhang Yingying ran to the big boss's office. She wanted to pay for the matter with the horned demon, but she was thrown out. Huh. I'm just joking. Don't feel burdened. Tang Yi revealed a mysterious smile. Then she changed the topic. But there's one more thing. Shouldn't you think about it carefully? What is it? Right now the word in the society is that you're going to take a break from school soon, right? That's right. In theory, a suspended member doesn't have the qualifications to occupy the society's public assets. Right now there are quite a few people who are itching for a fight over your laboratory on the 3rd floor beneath Gear on the North Bank. They want to seize the opportunity to take it back. Hey, I've had a lot of worries lately. Partner, can't you share some of my worries? I said it before. I'm just a nominal president. I'm able to get to this position because I'm quite qualified. Also, I hold shares of the LCRF. Hold on. Why is it the LCRF? The LCRF was the Life Cycle Research Fund. From Luo Nan's understanding, it was basically an amalgamation of the interests of various large capitals, military and political powers. To put it in a harsher way, it was built upon the delusion of a group of old men intent on living forever. Why was Her Majesty Empress Wu getting involved? It's because the big boss has a stake there. In order to show respect, they basically seek the boss' opinion on every investment in Xia City and give him a seat on the board of directors. You can go ask Ying. She's a board member of many companies, even though she practically never goes there. It's that cool. This is respect. Let's not talk about the 3 giants of Xia City. Old man Yu aside, President Ouyang has a large number of technology companies fighting to give him shares. Otherwise, where would the expenses of researching the psychic wave network come from? If he wanted to update his equipment right now, all he needed to do was leak the news and everyone, including Quantum Corporation, would come crying and shouting for supplies. Do you believe it? I believe it. You're quite respected right now. Big Sis has bodyguards when she goes out. She even comes up to help for free. These are extraordinary times. Luo Nan's lips twitched. He didn't believe this to be a good thing. And the respect he hoped for wasn't limited to just this. Enemies like President Ouyang and Her Majesty Empress Wu would come rushing to express their goodwill. Admittedly, this was because of the unscrupulous nature of capital. But weren't Luo Nan's greatest opponents also unscrupulous fellows? You're looking forward to it. Luo Nan responded straightforwardly. I don't know when I'll be like Her Majesty Empress Wu and President Ouyang. Luo Nan was currently experimenting in this area. He didn't know what kind of results his design would have in the end. Perhaps true respect would only come after he became an extraordinary? It was useless to think about these things. He just needed to do it bit by bit. At this time his aunt called out from afar. What are you guys chatting about for so long? Don't delay Sister Tang Yi and the others from boarding the ship. Yeah. It's just some club matters. Don't you want to take a break from school? Luo Nan quickly gave Tang Yi a meaningful glance, but he was too busy giving her a meaningful glance. He spoke too quickly and touched upon Mrs. Luo Shuqing's reverse scale. He received a death glare and choked for a moment. It took him great effort to continue. I won't be using that laboratory much in the future, so I need to reorganize it. I need to divide it into areas for the club to take over. A lot of the equipment is sponsored by the school and investors. There are also some raw materials and the like. There are a lot of accounts that need to be dealt with just the handover. It's impossible to finish it in a day or two. In the end, Mrs. Luo Shuqing favored her nephew the most. From her perspective, it didn't matter how mischievous Luo Nan was in his studies or how dangerous the circle he entered was. Luo Nan's painstaking effort was the reason why the laboratory was able to attract so many investments. It would be too much of a pity if it were to be disturbed. She immediately opened her mouth to help. Tang Yi. Regarding the matter of the laboratory, can you be a bit more flexible in terms of time? It's not that easy to handle the procedures for taking a break from school. Tang Yi smiled. She didn't even glance at Luo Nan. She found the feeling of being a partner. Don't worry, Aunt Qing. I still have a bit of influence in the club. Luo Nan isn't an outsider. I'll do my best to relax my time. Actually, the time I've been away on vacation is pretty good. It'll take half a month to go back and forth. I'll mention it to the club right now. Luo Nan just needs to bury himself in organizing. Even if the club has objections, they'll have to wait for me to return. When the time comes, I might be able to buy a bit of time. What do you think? Luo Nan gave Tang Yi a big thumbs up in his mind. She really deserved to be called the best partner. These few short sentences had bought him a lot of free time. Luo Nan immediately straightened his body and spoke in a loud voice. There's no need for Sister Tang Yi to make things difficult for me. I'll make the best use of my time to sort things out. I'll strive to finish everything before you return. So he had to eat and live in the laboratory. Occasionally he would have to go out and negotiate with people. In this case he would show his face once every 3 to 5 days and disappear for the rest of the time. Wasn't that very normal? Right now the biggest problem had been solved. Emoya cast her gaze over to Luo Nan and Tang Yi's face. He was quite amused. Luo Nan curled his lips. You've gone through so much trouble. What are you probing for? Emoya glared back at him. She actually blinked and lowered her head to look at her watch. It's almost 1 o'clock. We've requested to board the ship an hour earlier. If you keep being long-winded, we'll probably have to jump onto the ship. Luo Xuqing glared back at her, but she turned to reveal a smile at Tang Yi. Luo Xuqing could see that her impression of Tang Yi was quite good. Of course, there was also the factor of Luo Nan. Tang Yi, since you're going to travel, you should properly relax. Take care of each other with Emoya. When you come back, come to our house more often to play. Aunt Qing. I'll urge Emoya to report that she's safe and sound every day. Tang Yi responded calmly. She nodded her head in farewell. Then Aunt Qing Jr. Luo, I'll see you later. The two great beauties, both over 180 centimeters in height, didn't say anything more. They turned around and walked toward the boarding gate. Their tall and slender figures were simply like models walking the streets. They even talked about some topic in the middle of the conversation. Luo Nan could see them look at each other and laugh loudly. They were both candid and lively. It was indeed pleasing to the eye, causing the surrounding men to frequently turn their heads. Luo Nan scratched his head. He felt a bit baffled, but he quickly shifted his attention. His gaze swept past Wild Jujube, who was following behind Emoya. It also passed through the transparent walls of the boarding hall and the misty rain. It swept past Cat Eyes, who had already boarded the ship on the 5th deck. Luo Nan's mental sensing network confirmed that there were no suspicious characters among the 5,000 to 6,000 people on the entire cruise ship. He could relax for the time being. At the very least, he could wholeheartedly do his own things during these 5 days on the sea. He could also make preparations for the more troublesome situation that would follow. There was a time difference of an hour. Night had already fallen in Ban City. The wind and rain on the other side of the ocean didn't stir up the slightest ripple here. Yinlu boarded North Mountain Lake. It was said that several decades ago, this was the location of the ancient capital of the island nation. The ancient capital was originally built next to a mountain. During the Third World War, the capital was destroyed by both the war and the earthquake. More than half of it was submerged by the silt of the lake water that gushed out from the deep mountains 100 kilometers away. Then the seawater flowed back, forming a brand new swamp zone that spanned an area of several hundred square kilometers. Thus the blue sea turned into mulberry fields. The mountain peaks of this region became islands, scattered across the surface of the lake. It was said that when the weather was good, one could overlook the lake from the island. One could even see the ruins of the lake's bottom. Yinlu didn't come here to admire the scenery. She chose this place because it was the most convenient area for her to do things in the northern end of Ban City. She had arrived in Ban City 2 days ago. Most of the dozens of hours had been spent here. Now that the project was finally completed, all the machinery and personnel had left the site in advance. As far as her eyes could see, there were almost no particularly obvious changes. The buried metal pile foundation and frame structure were integrated with the surrounding rocks and vegetation. Couldn't be said to be ingenious, but it was solid and hidden enough. She looked down at her watch. It was almost time. Everything had been done according to that gentleman's request. What would happen next? Before she could finish her thought, there was a buzzing sound in the void. The air trembled clearly as if it was resonating with her body. A clear numbness was transmitted from her lips and cheeks to her internal organs. An invisible pressure pushed her back 2 steps. A whirlwind appeared on the flat ground in front of her. Dust and grass flew everywhere, obscuring her vision. She wanted to get closer to take a closer look, but the sudden appearance of lightning and fire formed a barrier, blocking her way. She was shocked. She instinctively stood up straight, looked down and stood still. All the strange sounds and phenomena ended after 10 seconds. What replaced them was the clear sound of breathing. Yinlu was stunned. She couldn't help but look up. She saw a 16 or 17-year-old youth dressed in casual clothes. He looked like a tourist who had come to play. He looked all around, curiously sizing up the rippling surface of the water. So this is Ban City? Yinlu recognized this person. He looked almost the same as when they first met half a year ago. However, Yinlu had long since lost the mentality she had at Frost River reality. She only bowed deeply to the youth in front of her. Chapter 738. Luonan didn't speak. Yinlu bowed and didn't get up, just like a statue. She really needed some buffer time. Even though she had already guessed it, Yinlu still needed to digest Luonan's method of traversing 2,000 kilometers of space to appear before her eyes. Only then was she able to calm her surging mind. Of course, there were spatial shifting techniques in the extraordinary domain. There were at least 10 mental extraordinaries who were proficient in this path. One of them was the veteran Deputy Secretary General of the Ability User Society, Gong Qi. However, the shifting techniques of these people were built on the foundation of pure soul bodies. It was similar to the concept of astral travel in classical Eastern metaphysics. Luonan relied on a few metal foundations that couldn't be seen to realize his fleshly body shifting. Regardless of how it was realized in theory or technology, the energy consumption of material shifting alone was probably an astronomical figure. Yinlu used the configuration of the Blood Soul Temple to sense the current state of the abyss area. Turbulent currents were indeed swirling and turbulent. The chaotic storm was clearly in a state of interference. However, it was far too conservative compared to the estimated scale. The easiest logic to understand was that the same effect consumed less energy the higher the technique. This sort of supernatural method was not as straightforward as the tyrannical storm, but the more she thought about it, the more inconceivable it became. How could Luonan, who could wander tens of thousands of kilometers at will and easily shift his fleshly body, be summarized by the title of genius theorist of the mental side? It must be known that omnipotence was omnipotence in a certain sense. Yinlu didn't expect that she would think so much during the time she was bowing. Luonan didn't pay attention to her at all. She raised her head in astonishment and saw Luonan operate with his fingers. He had just finished sketching in the air when he turned to smile at her. Wait a bit. Ripples rippled through the air as soon as he finished speaking. A metal chest half the height of a person bounced out from the depths of the dark night and fell with a whoosh. Luonan's soul strength interfered slightly, allowing this big fellow to land steadily on the grassy gravel-covered ground. Inside the chest was a custom-made exoskeleton equipment. It was Luonan's next practice tool. Exoskeleton equipment was expensive, and Luonan was currently deep in debt. He had to be careful no matter what. Yinlu was already numb to Luonan's endless methods. She was too lazy to think about the technology and ability support behind this. She just did her duty and walked forward quickly, preparing to take over. Luonan shook his head. I'll just hold it. He still looked like a thin and weak youth, and his combat skills were trash in the eyes of professionals like Gym Master Xianxia. However, after a long period of mutual interference and tempering of the God Wheel and Body Wheel, there were even more qualitative changes after the awakening. In terms of physique, it was definitely at the inhuman level. The 200-kilogram metal box was easy to carry with one hand. Compared to who would carry the box, he was more concerned about the follow-up arrangements. This is a deserted island, right? Where are we going next? There's a boat on the shore on the right. Sir, aren't you going to deal with it? Yinlu was a bit surprised to see Luonan leave with the box. Luonan was even more baffled. Handle what? This is a framework that can be used for spatial jumps. It's not like there's no one around. Just now when you came over there was quite a commotion in the abyss area. If someone followed you here and discovered the setup here, took it away or destroyed it, Luonan blinked his eyes. Does it take a lot of effort for you to buy these things? No, it's very simple to order and there are backups. Then just leave it here. The materials aren't as expensive as labor. Luonan explained a few things in passing. You said that this is just a framework. It's nothing more than a temporary airdrop station. It's not a permanent building. The truly useful configuration requires the turbulent interference of the abyss area to be temporarily constructed. The rest of the stuff can be messed around with however you want. Strength was the capital to be willful. Yinlu was a bit emotional. She could tell that Luonan didn't want to waste energy on this sort of thing, so she didn't say anything more. Then she clasped her hands around her abdomen, bowed once more and invited Luo Nan to head to the shore of the island to board the boat. Luo Nan walked about 200 to 300 steps before he saw a white yacht anchored on the shore. It was quite conspicuous under the curtain of night. According to your instructions, we need to maneuver around North Mountain Lake. The corresponding residence is a bit hard to grasp. So I made the decision on my own and chose this high-speed yacht. If we use it as a habitat, we'll give up some of the comfort and our mobility and flexibility will increase by quite a bit. Of course, if you're more accustomed to living on land, we can also stay near the shore of the lake. No, this is a good idea. Luo Nan's eyes really lit up when he saw this yacht. It was for no other reason than that the somewhat vague details of the plan suddenly became clear. It could be considered an unexpected pleasant surprise. Yin Li's mind relaxed. Just Luo Nan's attitude alone meant that the painful process of racking her brains these past 2 days wasn't in vain. Her mind relaxed, but she still maintained a respectful and restrained expression on her face. She just invited Luo Nan to board the yacht from the rear deck and introduced the basic situation of the yacht to Luo Nan at the right time. The yacht's name is Ray. It's Fadi Corporation's Pioneer-class motorboat. It has a classic 3-story structure and its entire body is made of carbon fiber. The boat's length is 24 meters, and it's equipped with a solid fuel and electric dual-drive engine. Its top speed can reach 50 knots and its steering performance is superior. Since Luo Nan was carrying heavy luggage, Yin Lu first guided him to the residential area of the lower deck to settle him down. This place is completely isolated from the crew cabin. It can guarantee confidentiality and safety. The central area is the master's room. It's the same width as the boat. The living conditions are acceptable. Luo Nan arrived at the master's room of the yacht and put down the heavy metal box. His gaze and mental senses swept over at the same time. What entered his eyes was the luxurious decorations of the cabin. Of course, the most eye-catching thing was the large bed in the middle. It was big enough for 3 or 4 people to lie side by side. There were portholes on both sides that could see the view. There was an office area, a movie area, a restroom, a shower room, and a walk-in wardrobe. It could only be said that the rich were okay. Poor ghosts like them had no way of understanding them. Yin Lu maintained a smile on her face. She let Luo Nan look at the other door outside the cabin. For the sake of confidentiality, I haven't arranged any service personnel in the residential area. However, I'm in the attendant room to the left of the exit. Oh, it's very close. Yin Lu tilted her head slightly. For the sake of convenience, the 2 rooms are connected. If you have any urgent matters that you need me to do, you can find me by pushing open the secret door in the office area. But Yin Li's eyelids drooped. Her voice was gentle and calm. The secret door is a one-way door. It can only be opened from the master's room. Please be at ease with its safety. The atmosphere turned strange. Luo Nan was dazed for a moment. Then he frowned. There's no need to live so closely. Isn't there another room at the bow? I think it's quite spacious. Yin Li's eyebrows were still drooped. That's a VIP room. Mr. Luo, don't you have your cousin in Ban City? If the situation changes, we might need to move her over here. Or if there are other honored guests staying here, it would be quite awkward to adjust the room. What use is this yacht when we need to move Moya? Besides, where would there be other honored guests? The madam said that if Mr. Luo feels that the situation in Ban City is complicated, she can come over at any time to share Mr. Luo's worries. Luo Nan was silent for a moment. His gaze swept over Yin Li's body. Then he nodded. We'll talk about it later. You continue to introduce the situation on the ship. He didn't stay in the master's room any longer. He walked out first. Yin Lu followed 2 steps behind him. The crew members are all veteran mad believers of the order. They are all retired military personnel. Their speedboat driving and water operations are all first class. Luo Nan grunted. They really are mad believers. Yin Lu raised her eyes and shot a quick glance. Then she immediately lowered her head. She was unable to verify Luo Nan's firm judgment. Or perhaps it was better to say that she didn't dare to verify Luo Nan's judgment. In any case, they could be considered to have settled down now. The living area of the lower deck, excluding the crew's cabins, actually had 3 cabins here. The master's room, the VIP guest room, and the attendant room. A small living room was arranged between these 3 cabins. There was a set of sofas here, and there was a small and exquisite bar counter on the opposite side. The wine rack behind it was filled with all sorts of alcohol. Luo Nan didn't recognize the brand, but he thought that the value of the alcohol placed here must be considerable. Indeed, if there was a professional service staff here, the quality of life on the yacht would soar beyond his imagination. Of course, the reality wasn't bad either. Luo Nan let out a breath and sat on the sofa. He leaned his upper body back, feeling the sofa's soft touch. He felt the northern mountain lake area, Xia City, and even the surrounding areas that were completely different. His attention soon returned to a more meaningful level of information that involved the extraordinary plane. The surrounding aura is very exuberant. Luo Nan chose a more appropriate word. Within his sensing network, the surface of the water, the underwater, the island, and even the sky were all exuberant with life. Or perhaps it could be said that it was exuberant a bit too much. Northern Mountain Lake was once the most active area for mutants in the surrounding areas of Ban City. It was also one of the areas with the most abundant populations. Even though the military conducts a large-scale sweep every year, they can only suppress the intensity of the mutants here. Ban City is already the only place in the surrounding seas that is suitable for a large metropolitan area. Building a city here is just a choice made after having no other choice. Lu stood ramrod straight at the bottom of the stairs leading from the master's room to the small living room. She introduced softly. "Sit down and talk." Luo Nan just wanted Li's help. He didn't want her to be a slave, so he indicated for her to sit down. Lu bowed in thanks, but she first dimmed the lights in the small living room. She opened up the virtual work area and projected the relevant information. Only then did she lightly lift the hem of her windbreaker and sit on the edge of the sofa. Luo Nan's gaze followed Li's movements by some strange coincidence. He watched as her stocking-wrapped long legs neatly drew together and then slanted outwards. They contrasted with the ankle-high heels of her ankle boots, revealing a particularly slender and perfectly round line. They emitted a faint blue light under the illumination of the luster. So it was blue. Luo Nan's mind leaped with thoughts that had nothing to do with the established goal. His eyelids also jumped. It was as if Lu was completely unaware of it. She just adjusted the information in the projection area and explained, "I have previously reported to you about the matter of searching for the target. Right now, we have already locked onto 2 areas surrounding Northern Mountain Lake.